Hi everyone. I promise this will be funny because maybe that's why they kept me till the end, right? Because everyone wants drama. I have to find a way to keep everybody awake. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm Vinnie and I'm an Agile coach. Don't ask me where I'm from because that really, really confuses me because I've lived and worked in Scotland, Northern Ireland. I even have a list here so I don't forget, right? Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and now I live between Italy and Edinburgh, but home is Scotland. And this is actually my first talk. And you know what they say, you never forget your first. Right? This talk has taken account into feedback from all the other Agile coaches, all the other Scrum Masters, all the other Agilists out there. So get comfy, grab some water. This talk is as much as your talk as it is my talk, all right? So let's start. Let's start at the very beginning. It's a bit of a song here. I want you all to close your eyes. Close your eyes, okay? No peeking. Okay, so have you ever worked with an Agile coach, Scrum Master, a team member that's challenging to work with? Yes, put your hands up. Open your eyes and look around. Okay, so usually I have a mentee for this section, but this is the Speedy Gonzalez version. It's a much longer talk, 30 minutes, we've got to go. Right, in one word, describe what you find most difficult about working with them. Anybody want to go? Ideologists. Thank you. Mick? Okay. No empathy. Thank you. Anybody else?
Inexperience.
Okay. Anything else?
Blabbers.
I really like you guys, because when I wasn't using the mentee, people were saying, oh, I don't know if people feel safe to talk about this or they're going to shut up. Love you guys, right? Right. I promised you some facts and data because I'm on version 6. So I iterate, just like, what we tell people to do. This is an iterative talk. I'm going to show you some facts and figures. Look at that. Look at those numbers. The last talk I spoke was Agile, 2023, Orlando and Edinburgh. 100%. I think about 100 people in the talk, and everybody said that, yes. 6% said no, all good. And when I probed on the 6%, actually, they were mostly Lone Rangers, right? Or basically, they held the contract. So, if I work for this consultant firm, I hold the contract, so what I say is go, right? Don't really need to work with anybody else. Now, I'm going to show you very quickly some data from the other talks, from the word cloud, from the mentee. So, right? I'm going to go next. You see that? Second talk, right? Sly, can't trust. No credit. Look at this again. What word are you saying over and over again? Right? There was something there about scrummy mummy or something like that, I think. There we go, scrummy mummy. Like, really. Control freak. Last one. Ego. Fake. Cute, huh? Fake. Right? I think there's something funny here. Blah, blah. The blah, blah coach. Noisy. Noisy. We're supposed to be listening, right? So there you go, some data. Hope you sit there and pontificate on that. Don't worry. So now we start talk, right? Now we start the heart of the talk. Why is it so important? Why do we really need to work with each other? Because it's pretty simple, right? We need somebody to have your back, okay? If you're a Scrum Master, you look after your team. If you're an Agile coach, who looks after you, right? Other than each other. We need to work to each other. We have to have that team of diversity. Not just, in terms of different genders and things like that, but, where we come from, our different mental models, how we grew up, we need that richness that it can provide. We do want somebody that understands what you're saying, okay? Somebody gets you. It's like, have you spoken to somebody that just doesn't understand what you're doing? Like, I try to explain to people what am I doing, what my problems are, but there's nothing like talking to a friend that says, I get you, I've been in that situation before, right? In terms of this, coaches, we're subjected to siloing as well. So sometimes you are the Lone Ranger, and that can be very lonely. Has anybody felt that, like you're the only coach? Yeah. So what do? Does it get to you that you've got nobody to talk to? Sometimes? Yes? No? Yeah? So if I'm the Lone Ranger on the team, what I do is sometimes, I reach out to my Scrum Master community because I feel they're an extension of me. I've been Scrum Master before, so I really like that. The other thing you can do is, meetups, our community, what we're doing here today, talk to people. Because if you don't talk to people, you might be blindsided and your own biasness will take over you, right? Okay. Yes, Susie, I'll smile for you. Okay, so that's one, right? And because we promote teamwork. So if we promote teamwork, then surely it's important for us to work together, okay? So I'm going to show you this slide. Right. Remember how I said I spoke to a lot of Agile coaches and this is the data that I get? So in general, we can actually classify this to the employment types. There are 3 different employment types. So you have permanent, contract, day rate. I think some people call it freelance here, fixed term contract, and then you have the consultants. And then in terms of coach types, you've got team, program, enterprise. The list keeps growing on this side, even though we promote flat structure, right? You're smiling because you know that. And then this is the types of the management that we usually work with: line managers, senior leader, executive. And now more and more I'm starting to find this coach types. Just because you're a team coach, it doesn't mean that you're not a big dog, right? Because now the market is saturated, there are no jobs, people are just taking whatever they can get. And there are certain positions where you have to be a permanent coach, and only then you can take this role. If you're not a permanent coach, you cannot take that role. But for me, it's like, how do we come together and exist? How do we coexist? Because I've been in all these 3 role types, and I've been in places where we have all these 3 coach types as well. We need to find a way to coexist together. And for me, certain things might be better for a perm person to say, and certain things might be better for a contract person to say, right? Some people have more skin in the game. And sometimes you say stuff, and sometimes you don't say stuff. It's because of the performance management system. You're rewarded for that, so it's better to not say anything, right? So how do you do your job? So find a way how you're going to interact and how you're going to work together. Pair with them, right? I'm a contractor, I'm a freelance, so work together with a permanent person. Sometimes it's better coming from me, and sometimes I know sometimes they can say stuff. But I want to end this slide by saying sometimes it's not what people are saying. Sometimes it's what they're not saying. Because sometimes you just got to roll with the punches, right? Okay, so let's talk about this, the coaching contract charter. Have you done this? Has anybody done this if you're an Agile coach? Yes. Okay, next question. Have you reviewed it as part of an Agile coach team? You do, right? We ask our teams to do this, but when we work together as a collective of Agile coaches, do we do this? Do we review this? This is really important because we need to create some sort of alignment between us, right? We need to find a way to form. We need to find a way that we're going to work together. We're all different. And I've always said, be firm with your vision and flexible with your steps to get there. Make sure this is done. Make sure this is reviewed, okay? This is something that everybody likes to say, oh, let's just do a team charter. It's going to be really fun and everything. And then, like, nothing happens. And I want to share a funny story here because Sally is sitting here, right? We're talking about working with other Agile coaches. Sally and I worked together in Australia for 2 years. We basically, we just joined a new company. And you know what do you do in the first week that you join a company? What do you usually do? You've just started a new gig. Anybody? correct? But what are you waiting for?
Nothing, just this.
Okay. Do you wait for something to happen, like, on your first, second, or third day? It's a bit hard to start work, right? Because you're waiting for your access. Right? You're waiting for your access. So me, Sally, and another person, we're working on that. I've got this talk out there, so I better be doing what I say I'm going to be doing, right? We sit together and we come up with a team charter, which is what we're going to do. And, we had things there, not only about this is a real example, by the way, real example. We also had things like, this time to this time, we do the school run, this time to this time, you're going to do this time to this time, I've got a sick parent. And without realizing, you're starting to learn about each other's lives, so you're starting to make that connection. It's not about, let's just be nice to each other and, no bad words kind of thing, right? Oh, let's just create alignment, dig deeper. So we created our social contract. We shared it with our consultant contract holder. The next day, the three of us was called online, and we were told to delete it by another coach. So this coach was sitting on top of us because they held the contract. The three of us were working in an area, so we decided to align ourselves because we were waiting for access. We were told to delete it, and we were told that this disgusts that person. Yes. Was that right?
Yeah, and it was a really good coaching contract, and the three of us were really ready to get going and work together, and she just said, nope, delete it, I don't want to see this, you have disgusted me, and I don't want to talk to you people right now.
And then we were forced to apologize.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Remember that? Right. I did promise you the drama, right? So this is what happened. So I don't know. That's the story, right? So decide how you want to go up together and be brave to call up behaviors that you don't live with. Always bring it back to this. Review this. So the next one is empathy, right? We coaches seem to have a lot of empathy for a lot of people. We have empathy for leaders, empathy for teams we coach, but do we really have empathy for each other? Like, do we actually look out for each other? You're smiling there, right? So it's important, right, to have that connection with each other because we're human beings as well. We're pretty hard jobs, right? We're trying. We're really trying to make that connection. I want to hear your story after that. Right? So anybody that you can help understand their challenge will make you a better coach. Because what we want to do is we want to not only just do that for the sake of doing it, we want to create a culture where empathy is normalized. It is okay for coaches to have a bad day. We're human. The important thing is we need to look out for each other. So what do you think about that? Is it empathy or is this compassion? So when I was actually researching this, we have this pity, sympathy, empathy, and compassion. So compassion is deep. It goes beyond pity and sympathy, and you really want to try and get there, right? When you practice this, it has the power to not only heal the person that you're helping, but it also subconsciously heals you because you are helping somebody else, right? And I want to offer you a little tip about this. It's named after my mom. I call my mom Kitty, not mom, because we're cool. And I call this the kitty cat theory. If somebody goes to you, and how many times has this happened? Oh, blah, 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 I hurt my foot. I've got a torn tendon. And I go and tell you, and then you go, well, guess what? I broke my leg, right? How many times do we do that? For example, if you have a sick child, my child was sick, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, my child got COVID. That's what I call the kitty cat theory. When somebody comes to tell you something, listen, because it's really hard. Have compassion. It's not about you, it's about them, just for that moment. And another thing I want to say is, if you've actually had a passing in your family or something, It's just that 1 week or 2 weeks where everybody just really says, sorry, I know it's really it's really hard. But it's not that 2 weeks. It's the time after that. It's Mother's Day, it's Father's Day, it's the birthdays, it's the time that comes. So this is not just a 5-minute, 10-minute kind of thing, right? And you can grow this too if you want to. It's just like any other habit. If you practice it, you can do it, right? Okay. Socialization. I'm wondering how many of you actually have fun with your teams as coaches? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Those of you that are not having fun with your teams that you coach with sometimes, yeah? How many of us coach our teams to have fun? Right? Coffee stand up with, coffee daily scrum, coffee sync. Daily sync with planks. Have you tried that? It's good. I like that, right? So what you're starting to do is when you're having fun, you're starting to understand each other and you're making that connection. So when you work with each other, it just makes it a little bit easier because you're starting to understand, build that connection, build that relationship. And I feel a lot of people actually don't spend time doing this. There is nothing sad than a team that does not have fun. And if you ask me of all the coaching teams that I've worked on, the thing that I remember, is not all the boring stuff. It's the coach's breakfast. It's the, it's the coffee stuff that we had. It's those karaoke nights that we spend together. So build these connections, build these relationships. We deserve to have fun as much as the teams that we coach to have fun, right? Okay, this one. Take a read. If you're not on a great coaching team, right, you'll start to see these dysfunctions, these anti-patterns. So they don't exist in only the teams that we coach. They exist in us as well. So the important thing is that we're aware and we catch ourselves and we be open to feedback, okay? I bet you when you saw this, you always say, oh, there's this person, that's that person, that's that person. Whenever there's one hand you're pointing at someone, there's these 4 hands pointing back at us. We've been all of this, okay? And sometimes if there's something that you know that it's happening to somebody and it's not their usual way of behaving, and they behave in different ways, because we behave in different ways depending on the environment that we exist in. We will behave in that way. Go reach out to them. Ask them if they're fine. Ask them if they feel safe, Maybe something's happened. I don't know. I really like this, and now you see it, now you don't. It's like these Oreo cookies, right? People that disappear, coaches that come, and then they just disappear, and then they're there, and then they're not there, and then it's time to take credit. There they are. But we've all been there, okay? If you reflect to the word cloud, and I bet you're probably laughing in your head, sometimes you're probably saying, oh, that's Jim, that's Sally, that's Adam. But actually, that's us. Because we are all Agile coaches, and we're saying that about ourselves, right? Well, let's go to the coach team dysfunction. Now, rather than looking at all of these team dysfunctions, I invite you to look at how we can align on this and how we can minimize this. This is going to be there regardless, right? But let's find a way to move forward. Let's use the social contract, for example, as a way that how we can align to minimize these behaviors. If you're on a big coaching team, for example, 10 coaches, 20 coaches, have you been on programs like that? Yeah, I have. You'll see a lot more of this, right? There's nothing special about us. We're just the same. So I'm going to show you some ways how we can align so that this happens. The first one is the social contract that we have, right? Ethics. So it's there. I really want ethics to be part of the curriculum because I think this is really, really important thing, okay? And we'll delve deeper into that. So what can we do about this? Capability metrics. It's really quite easy. If you're in a team of coaches, do you actually know what each other's strengths are? Do you know what we're good at? You know how we tell people to pair? Have we been asked to pair? Have we been, you're going for it, right? And you're saying like, oh, let's just pair, you know? Do we pair? Do we find out what we like to work on? What we're good at? What we're not good at? So this is quite easily done. You just get an Excel sheet. You sit together in a group and you just write all the stuff that you're good at and all the stuff that you don't like to good at and just make columns. Very easy, right? Sit down, because sometimes when somebody's hired, you just don't know what the strengths are. You don't know how you can leverage them. And for me, this chart is really good to use for the organizational level as well. For example, there's a really difficult stakeholder, and Anna has had, working with difficult stakeholder training, or she's really good at that. So what do? You send Anna. You send your best person. So you can use this to help inform people. The other thing I like to do is this is a Strengths Finder survey. I don't know if anybody's heard of the Strengths Finder. Yeah, I really like that because personally, I am done with, trying to be better at something that I'm not good at. If I'm not good at something, so what? I am not good at that, right? I would rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than everybody's cup of tea. Self-selection. Sandy Mamoli came up with this idea of self-selection. And what she says is, we're happier when we work with people and that we select the work that we choose. But do we as coaches self-select? Do we as coaches say, I would like to do this and I would like to do that and I'm really good at this and I'm really good, but then we preach this, right? So there's an inherent disconnect. And when I was actually researching this is Simon Sinek, and he talked about the Navy SEALs. And you have this high performance and trust. So nobody wants the low performer and the low trust person, right? But nobody, or the Navy SEALs, they do not want a low trust high performer. That person is a toxic team member and a toxic leader. The Navy SEALs would rather have medium, or they'd rather have a low performer or a high trust. And the problem with businesses today is we've got metrics for everything, for KPIs to measure OKRs, and we promote people on that basis. But we do not promote those behaviors that actually are good for longevity, like trust. So what you end up with is a very, very toxic company. And we keep rewarding these behaviors because so-and-so just gets the job done. So, retros. Do you do them as coaches? You do? Great. Yeah? We suffer from bad retros as well. We really do. We don't take customer feedback. We don't bring it back. And at the end of the day, one or two people just get the same action again and again. So take feedback, do it, be honest with yourself, right? And my biggest tip is we always pick things that don't work. I like to sometimes pick things that do work because it helps me build habits. It helps build habits. And I think today I'm not the only person that's talking about coaching and coaching habits. To do this, to do something that you're good at, make sure it sticks. Don't always focus, it's a tendency for us to always focus on the bad stuff, right? And we've done research and we've done studies on, when we say, can you think of a bad customer experience? Everybody can think of think of something. But if you say, can you think of a good customer experience? People normally spend a really, really long time because our brains are automatically wired to just think of the not good stuff. So I invite you to pick some of the good stuff. Fatigue. coach isolation, the pit of despair, right? We have too much of everything. We're spread thin, like Vegemite. In Australia, we call it Vegemite. I think it is called Marmite or something. So we're like spread really big on this giant toast. We try to do like 5 teams, 7 teams, 13 teams. I don't know, I'm in charge of 250 teams. And we suffer from this, right? So if your car was broken, you would take it to a mechanic. So if you really need help, reach out and get the help that you need. Because we too sometimes are products of, the environment. And I want to talk about mental health because no one really talks about it. It's there in the Agile community. I want to talk about it because I want to bring attention of mental health issues. I want to normalize this because as coaches, sometimes we're told to do things that we don't want to do. We're privy to things before they happen. We know certain things are going to happen. For example, if you know certain things are going to get cut or certain teams are going to get cut and you've already built those relationships and you can't really say, and I don't know how some of you deal with it, but sometimes these things, they do affect me. So what I always do is I always cost in my job for things like that. So, be it if I need to talk to somebody or, as a desk worker, I may need physio or I may need to go for a massage or, I just need to chill out. So there's no shame to cost these self-care things in your jobs or take some time out. So I'm almost coming at the end, and the moral value is practice what you preach. Live the values that you so actively promote. Some of us start that we want to change the whole world, but what we realize is that what we can do is only control ourselves. We can control how we show up for each other, right? How we role model all those values that we're preaching. Are we doing that? Now, I want to ask you, how many of us or how many of you have a coach? How many of you have your own coach? Great. If you don't, I invite you to get one, because as coaches, we need somebody to also look at us and have our blind spots as well. Somebody that could just be brutally honest. I've always had a coach, and I've always found really good value in that, because if I'm going to do something, I need to do it as myself. If you look at, I think it's psychologists or psychiatrists, they need to be counseled as well themselves. So it should be the same. It should be the same for us, right? And be your authentic Agile self. So what is the moral of the story? Drama can be positive, right? You can turn it into whatever you want. You came here and you thought drama is negative, but we're a fun bunch. We have fun, and we can't solve the world's problems. We can't save the world. We are just like any team we coach. It's the same. It doesn't make us special. And if you're an experienced coach, you might have lived through some of this, all of this. You're probably living through this. I don't know, because I saw a lot of smiles and a lot of chuckles, right? So what is it that I want to do, right? I want to call on organizations like Scrum Alliance, Scrum.org, IC Agile. I want them to include this in their curriculum. Whether it's Scrum Master, Product Owner, Fundamentals, please include this. Please include how we can work together. Because those numbers don't lie. Because clearly we're not able to do that, right? And some of us do successfully. How to work with other coaches and what this role really, really means. This is a tough gig. It is not an entry-level job. It is not a graduate job, right? You don't just go around and convert people to fit the Scrum Guide. We need more formalized ways, because being a Scrum Master and an Agile coach is a lot more than just knowing or coaching the framework. I want to normalize mental health in our industry because it exists. It exists because companies need our help. If companies don't need our help, then we don't exist. So the environment that we work in and that we coach in sometimes is hard. It's challenging, but it's bloody well worth the ride. And this is why our network and our support system is so, so important for us. And finally, let's reflect why those poll numbers are so high, right? In the word cloud, you can see all those, the one thing that everybody said is ego, correct? Yeah, ego keeps coming up again and again. And I always say, like, it takes a village to raise a company agile. And it's the same with us. All of us today, we're each other's network. We're each other's support system. And this is why I fundamentally believe our network and our support system is so, so important to us. And so I would like to end. I've got here now. This is the best, one of the best coaching teams that I work with in Perth, Australia. I moved there when it was COVID, and these were my Scrum Master and Agile Coach community. And when my stuff didn't arrive, these people were the ones that actually gave me all the things that I needed because my stuff was stuck. There you go. We're always there for each other, and look out for your community will be there. Those are the original coaches. And that's Alex Slowly, and he helped me with this talk as well to say, you know, this is something that needs to be said. So before I come one of my statistics of the, you know, taking the credit coach, I better give credit where that is. So if you have any funny stories, hashtag them at Agile Drama. If this was a longer one, I always invite people to share their drama stories, and we can have a laugh at ourselves, right? So there you go. If you want to connect with me, I'd love to connect with you. I don't know if I have enough time.
Go ahead, yeah, take 3-4 minutes.
Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to share? Anybody? Anybody? Yes?
How do you convince an organization to actually allocate time for creating this Agile community? I know it should be like within the Agile lead's responsibility and so on, but in a lot of organizations this is overlooked, and it might be something interesting to explore.
So what I typically do is, if your team of coaches are working together and they're coming together, if they're working in a certain framework, maybe they're working Kanban way, or you know, whatever way that you want to work with, you always create that space and you create, you know, you allocate some time to it. It's not easy. It usually does not get, you know, take up immediately, but this is what I'm saying. Sometimes it's up to us to want this for each other. Right? Because ultimately you need to have that authenticity when you're coaching. If you're going to say, for example, let's stand a cop up, you know, let's do a product owner cop, let's do a leadership cop, let's do this. Oh, you know, you're a leader. You need to clear your calendar so you have time to space to think. We need that as well. But sometimes it doesn't happen. And what you do is I usually go for meetups. I have my coaching circles. I have really, really good coaching friends that I try to build and try to co-create those connections myself. Does that answer your question? You have to convince each other. You have to bring everybody together, and you have to say, this is important.
Okay, and like I understand that, like wherever I was working at work, like you have to start somewhere. And in a lot of organizations, like I've taken part in a lot of trainings, and a lot of the companies that are like consulting companies, just like helping their clients to get agile, like they don't have that. So
What's stopping you from saying that we need that? Yeah, because that's what I'm trying to say, right? In the end of the day, we only can control ourselves. We can't expect other people to change, but we can mirror those behaviors. So what's stopping you from going there and saying, hey, I think we don't have enough time for each other. We need to come with each other. For example, one of the places that we were working, it kept going on and on and on and on, that we had 5 different areas, nobody was connecting. And I think at one point, 20 of us said that we need to come together and share our learnings. And what we have is we have an Agile COP in the consulting company. In the consulting company. This is not on the job, it's a consulting company. And what we did is we made Friday our lunch and learn. So eat and share and be merry. Anything else?
This comes back to the practice what the freak idea. I remind you of the story about a carpenter who never took care of his own house. He was doing fabulous work, building people's kitchens, changing.
Sorry.
Yeah, remind you of the story of a carpenter who his house is falling apart because he's doing fabulous work for everybody else, but not taking care of his own needs. And that's what we must do.
Thank you. It starts with us. So there you go. I think Jake, I'm out of time, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.